Hello and welcome to Find Your Freedom, a podcast dedicated to helping you truly find freedom in all aspects of life. Join your hosts and their expert guests as they share practical tips and strategies for finding more freedom in your life. It's time to take control of your life and create the future you want. Let's find your freedom. Here are your hosts, Lenny the Boss and Omid Rad Investor.
Boom, boom, boom. We are back with another fantastic episode of what? Find Your Freedom. And check this out. Before we get into our next friend guest here, we have something absolutely free for you, easily downloadable. All you have to do is go to www.findyourfreedom.com/freedom kit. Once again, www.findyourfreedom.com/freedom kit. All right. So before we get into our next host, let me tell you a little bit about her. All right. She's the co-founder of Kobo's Co-Hosting, which we're going to get into all of that. All right. She's also a short-term rental operator. And what I really love is this right here. She says, co-host with the most, right? That definitely get a boo right there, right? She's a writer, a real estate investor, and she is an amazing mother. I really love when people say, that, right? So let's give a warm welcome to Patricia. How you doing? How are you?
I'm great. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm super excited to be on this podcast. So
Awesome. All right. So before we start, if you could, for the audience, just give a little background on yourself, and that would be wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. So
Brooklyn
in the house, spread love. It's the Brooklyn way. I always say that because yes. And, I've been an executive assistant in finance, supporting C-suite level executives for over 20 years. Love my career. I've just really leaned into it. No one grows up saying like, oh, I want to be an executive assistant when I grow up. I got lucky and I fell into it. So I've been doing that for over 20 years. In 2016, probably before that, moved out to Colorado from New York in 2011 and rode a little bit of the appreciation wave. And that's how I kind of got interested in real estate, found BiggerPockets. Actually, I didn't find it. A coworker of mine was like, hey, have you been found BiggerPockets? It's great. So started listening to a bunch of BiggerPockets in early 2016, made some investments, grew my portfolio. At the end of 2021, wanted to get into a more cash flow focused portfolio. And I heard Avery Carl on BiggerPockets and was like, I think I can do that. It resonated really strongly with me. Purchased 2 short-term rentals, one in Joshua Tree, California, and one in Crystal Beach, Texas, and found that almost all of my skills for my over 20-something year career are transferable into hosting. And I loved it. So I was like, this is great. How do I do more of this and live more authentically? I launched a co-hosting business with a business partner in August of this year. And, I'm just living my best life. That's what it is right now.
So I want to interrupt you there. So I love everything about this. So you go out to Colorado, and it's interesting because I rode the appreciation wave as well. I purchased my residential property in 2010, and so perfect time to buy, and you kind of build a little bit of equity. And same thing. I just came across BiggerPockets. House hacking, really just from like a coworker, and it's so crazy how you learn things from other people. And but talk about like how you were able to kind of get your feet started with the first property, because everybody kind of does the educational component of like maybe learning, and then how do you decide, hey, I'm gonna take a stab at this and do another purchase. So maybe like walk us through like how that process even came about.
Well, here's the thing. I grew up in Brooklyn, always renting. It's a rent culture in New York. It's so hard to get into purchasing. The cost is just way out there. So we move out to Colorado with my ex-husband in 2011, right? And we go to purchase a house. We buy a new build, like $300,000 house, and it's amazing. All of this space, like coming from New York where you like live in little boxes. Like, oh my God, this is a mansion. It wasn't a mansion. Like 1,600 square foot home,
Yeah.
And I was like, this is great. Well, 2 years later when we split, unfortunately, things happen and, things didn't work out. So we go to sell the house. And we're selling it for $400,000 at that point. And I was like, whoa. In 2 years, this house appreciated. So we each walk away with almost $50,000. I take my portion and I purchase a condo, which was also like a beautiful condo, actually right around the corner from where I live now, for $245,000. I put down $30,000, $245,000. Well, live in the condo, loved it. This is kind of when I start realizing, like, if I move out of this condo, I kind of want to rent it out and upgrade to another house. So in 2016, I wanted to move into another house. So I kind of weighed like, what was it going to look like to keep that condo? I felt like a little stretched and maybe highly leveraged. And I wasn't comfortable at that time to like jump in there. I wish now that I had, because that condo is worth so much. It's like one of these things that I'll kick myself in, the rear forever. That I could have made it happen. It would just be highly leveraged. So I didn't. I went and I sold that condo for $320,000. 2 years later. Okay, so 200% return on, and I was like, okay, let's look at this seriously, because this is, I made good money in my career. It's great supporting C-suite level executives. I loved what I did. I'm passionate about it. Even though I'm supporting C-suite level executives, it's a career that's steeped in service. That's completely who I am. I love helping people. But I was like, I need to learn more about real estate. And so, like I said, early 2016 is when a coworker was like, because I was talking about like, I want to invest in real estate. I'm going to I put a bunch of money into that house that I purchased in Golden, Colorado. And I'm going to use that equity to grow my portfolio. What that looks like, I don't know yet. So she's like, hey, you have to check out BiggerPockets. So I did. And I start hearing about house hacking. I had, I have 2 kids at the time. And then I was like, but I have this extra bedroom that I want to rent out. So I screened people. And as a matter of fact, the first person who I rented to, this lovely girl from Massachusetts, her name is Lachlan. Hey, Lachlan. She's actually just out this weekend visiting me because we're still friends. Yeah. And, she was coming out here for an internship. Great girl. And I rented my extra room to her. So I was house hacking.
Let me stop you right there for a second. Yeah. Because, I love that. I love house hacking. I believe house hacking is the fastest way to, when you don't have the money, right? The fastest way to get your doors up. Now, you house hack, because everybody, these days they hear house hacking, they believe that you need to have like this multi-family home, either a duplex or a triplex or a quad. But in your case, this wasn't the case. You had an extra room. All right. Let's start there. And then on top of that, you're a single parent, right? A woman, right? And with 2 little kids, right?
Yes.
And you still took the chance to sit there and rent out this room. So, can you give some words of advice to those that are currently in a situation like you were in? What would you say to that person?
Absolutely. I would say, look, do your screening. Screen these people. There are ways to screen people. You can do background checks, meet with them a few times. And, as a woman renting to another woman who was younger than me, like ultimately, I think it became like this wonderful friendship slash, big sister mentorship, whatever. And, there are great people out there. And then I continued to rent a room even after moving to like another house, to other single moms, who are in similar situations. They maybe don't have the money right now to purchase a house. They're in the middle of a divorce or whatever the case is, right? Screening. Obviously, I'm always here when my kids are here. I'm not leaving, and house hacking. I mean, obviously, people think you need to be young, and I wish that I could rewind time and do it as a young kid and like rent out all the rooms. Right? I've got these kids living here rent free. But you find a way to make it work. And there are some amazing people. I'm still friends with almost everyone who I've rented a room to over the past 5 years. So
So can I interrupt? Excuse me. Can I interrupt you
yeah.
there? So,
Yeah.
okay. So I love house hacking. I did house hacking with my wife. That's how we got into real estate. We
Yeah.
bought a 4-bedroom house. It was too big for us. It was just my wife and I. We had two roommates permanently until we had kids. And then the roommates are like, we don't want to be around your kids or your newborn. Peace. And but I think what I'm hearing from you is that you're really good at building community. So
Yes.
there's this stigma sometimes with like house hacking where people are afraid. They're afraid because, oh, what if? Well, it's always these like, worst case scenarios.
For
But
sure.
I really think if you come with a good intent and you have the right screening process, and it seems
Yes.
like you have a very good intuition about people.
I'm a New
And
Yorker, so
New Yorker, right? So you are able to kind of create this process, and it's very successful. And so
it
I
was
just want to kind of,
successful.
yeah. And I want to
Yeah.
echo that because I think sometimes people are afraid and they don't want to, and they just think about the worst case scenarios.
Yeah,
And
and you know what? I think I have generally a good idea. I mean, I'm fully aware that there are, there's bad people out there for sure. You screen, you trust your intuition. That's really important. And at the end of the day, I it's a comfort level too. I don't mind sharing space. Like there's a benefit to everyone. And I love like cooking and being like, hey, have some of this food. But I'm just that way. And I get it for people who don't feel comfortable with that. There's other ways to house hack. And that's what I tell everyone. I am of the mind like there's a flavor of real estate for everybody. I love the house hacking because look, you're putting a roof over your head. You're only putting 5% down. You can take a loan against your 401k. I've done
Correct.
that.
Yeah.
You're paying
With no
yourself back
penalty.
plus
With no penalty is the most
with
important
no
part.
penalty. You pay
Correct.
yourself back plus interest, and also sometimes it doesn't hit your debt to income ratio, is one lender told me.
so can we stop there? Can you talk about the 401k process? Because
Yeah.
I've never thought about it, but that's one of my goals in 2024 is 401k loan to purchase a property. So can you walk us through that experience? Because I think that's
Absolutely.
a
It's
great
super
tool to
easy.
have. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super easy. Look, you can probably, most 401ks allow you to borrow up to half of the value or $50,000 depending. So what you do is you give them a call like, hey, what are the rules for a loan against the 401k? If it's a home loan, um, I mean, you could take out a loan that's not a home loan against your 401k. It's just that the repayment period is going to be a little bit tighter. If you're on a home loan, if you're on a home loan, they extend the payment period, and basically you pay yourself back. It comes right out of your paycheck, and you're paying yourself back plus interest. My understanding, and this might be different for various lenders, but the one lender that I was working with was like, hey, it's not going to hit your debt to income ratio because it's a 401k. And I didn't really quite understand that, but I was like, yeah, obviously. Talk to your lender, but super easy process. You call them up and you're like, hey, I want to take a loan. Sometimes you can do it like on the app, right? And you're like,
Wow.
and it will tell you how much you can borrow. And then you get either a check in the mail or you get a deposit to your bank account, and boom,
Here we go.
Boom.
you've got a 401k and you got a bunch of money that you can invest. And so the thing that you have to be aware of, like, is if you default on the repayment, if you get laid off from your job and you don't repay the loan, you'll take that money as income, which is not the worst thing. Okay, now I have to pay taxes on this money. It's going to be a little bit different. And, that has happened to me too. And it's not that big of a deal. So offset those with
Real estate
benefits from real estate.
You're so smart. Listen, so let's stay here for a little bit because I really think that this is like audience, you really should listen up. So let's walk through the story one more time. All right. Single mom, right? 2 little ones. How old were they at the time? Come on, let's paint just 5, 6.
Oh gosh, like 5 and 7
Okay, so
in 2016.
no problem. Let's just stay there. So
8 and 10, 8 and 6.
8 and 6. Okay, cool. So we have single mom, 8 and 6, and renting out a room. And let's paint this picture because some people don't even realize what house hacking really is. But that means that if you in a 3-bedroom home, right? One person is renting that room and they sharing the bathroom, they sharing the kitchen, right? So now by you house hacking, what did that allow you to do next?
Well, it allowed me to save money because now when I'm house hacking, it's reducing one of the largest expenses all of us have, right? Our housing is our biggest expense every month, unless you have kids in daycare. And then that's a whole nother story, right? But essentially, housing is, for the most part, everyone's biggest expense. And it reduced my housing overhead quite a bit. And it allowed me to save money at the end of the day for the next investment. I used a lot of equity for the next purchase. So then I ended up purchasing another primary residence with a partner who I probably could have purchased the property on my own, but he wanted to get into real estate, great buddy of mine. And he couldn't qualify for the loan on his own. I was like, I can qualify for the loan. Let's do this. And so we purchased another primary residence. I used money from the equity of my golden house, and we purchased a property in Arvada townhouse. He lived in the in the basement portion that was nicely finished, and then we lived on top, and shared kitchen and everything. And we lived there for a year before I ended up purchasing this primary that I'm in. So and then these properties appreciated like crazy over the past couple years.
Yep.
And so that was that. And then I moved again, and I hadn't. Yeah.
So I want to talk about that. So I think sometimes people they work so hard in their W-2, they get their salary. Yeah. Let's say it's let's just make it an easy round number, $100,000 salary. You're telling me that you did your job, but you are also, just because you house hacked, then the very first property you purchased that got rolled in, that 50,000 rolled into another property, which then rolled in, which then was another, let's say 100,000 or 200,000 that rolled into another property. And so you were able to make up your salary, let's say 100,000, let's just say $100,000 salary or multiple salaries just by purchasing homes and using some of these tools. So I just want really the audience to understand that it is a long-term game, but you build wealth that way. And it also allows you to kind of jump into different sort of niches. So maybe maybe you can kind of transition us and talk about then how did you say, hey, like short-term rentals, like what,
okay. Yes. This is great. Thank you for the lead.
Yeah.
So that house that I purchased in Golden, I purchased for $475 in 2016. And then I purchased with that partner of mine that other property in the beginning of 2018. We purchased that property for $445. The house that I purchased in Golden for $475, I sold at the end of 2021 for $750,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great.
Boom.
That's
Yeah.
your multiple salaries right there, like multiple years of salary.
It's like like I said, I rode that appreciation wave and it was great. The property that I purchased with my partner for $450, my business partner, Ray, hey Ray, he and I are not partners anymore, and he's not my current business partner. We were partners in that deal,
Yeah.
right? I just want to be clear because I have a business partner for the Cobos co-hosting, right?
Should we strip the hey Ray from the?
No, hey,
Bye, Ray.
no.
Sorry, sorry,
I
Ray.
just want to be clear. Partnerships are amazing, and so I highly recommend people get into partnerships because it can propel you forward in so many ways. Anyway, so Ray and I purchased that property at the beginning of 2018 for $445, and we sold it towards the end of 2021 for we paid $455. We sold it for $545. Okay, almost $100,000 appreciation. So, what I wanted to do was 1031 exchange that money. I don't know if people know what that is. That's when you defer capital gains tax. And I wanted to go for cash flow. Those properties were great. They had appreciated a bunch, but they weren't cash flowing. And I was here in Colorado managing them. And I was like, you know what? And so I was trying to figure out what to do, looking at different scenarios. And that's when I heard Avery Carl, short-term rental, long-term wealth on BiggerPockets. And I was like, I can do that. And what her model is like the real estate agency that she has is they kind of have a back end where they teach you how to manage remotely. And I was like, I'm going to do that. So I did. And I found out that it was amazing. And you kind of increase cash flow. In 2021, I also took money out of my 401k and I purchased 2 duplexes in Dubuque, Iowa. Those are long-term rentals. So they cash flow nicely, and just throwing that out there. So I currently own 5 properties across 4 different states, including my primary.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So, all right, well, let's keep this going. So you listen to Avery Carl, and you say, hey, I want to jump into this short-term rental game, right? So you mentioned you got some properties over here in Crystal Beach, Texas, and some in Joshua Tree, I believe, right?
Yes.
So tell us how the Crystal Beach property came about and how it's doing.
Well, you know what? I was trying to purchase in the Smoky Mountains, and I don't know if you guys know, but at the end of 2021, beginning of 2022, it was wild. And I think a lot of that was probably attributed to Avery's book being published. And now you have all of these investors yes, we want that 20%, what is it, 21% cash on cash return that we're talking about, right? So started looking in the Smokies. It was so competitive. I had put in several offers with escalation clauses and appraisal gaps that were crazy. Eventually I was like, these numbers are not making sense anymore. And we're not even talking about a brand new cabin. We're talking about a cabin that might probably needs work and doesn't have a pool, so super competitive out there. And I just kind of was like, I don't want to keep spinning my wheels in the Smoky Mountains. What other areas does Avery's real estate agency cover? And so another area that she covers is Crystal Beach, Texas, a great location, drivable regional vacation location, mostly short-term rentals there. And instead of fighting, all the sharks in the water, I went and I found this property. Actually, my agent found the property. I found the property. It was listed. My agent went there right away. Hi, Kelsey.
Hey, Kelsey.
She was great. She did a video and I was like, let's put an offer in. And we did. It was an amazing property. It hadn't been short-term rented before. I think it was like these grandparents who would host their grandkids down at the beachfront property, by the way.
Nice.
And I was like, yeah, the numbers looked good on it. And actually it has outperformed what I thought it was going to do.
Nice.
When I first ran those numbers. So, and then I got into short-term. I was like, I love hosting. I love creating guest experience, making sure they have enough towels. I'm big on that. Like, don't short me on towel. Like, look at all this hair. Like, don't just give me one like measly little towel. It's not,
So can we talk about that a little bit? Because one, I've heard Crystal Beach, if you have a beachfront, they kill it. Like,
Yes.
And that's a requirement. If you're a block away, it's not going to kill it. But if you are beachfront, it will kill it. And so
that's not entirely true. I have other clients in Crystal Beach and they're doing great. So,
okay. Maybe not, maybe misinformation. But what I want to talk about is the hospitality piece. So this is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing, you did the house hack and you're friends with, all your former roommates. That doesn't happen by accident. And I think that skill, like you said, translates really well into hosting, because there's hosts who are looking at it from they just want to make money. And there's hosts that look at it from I'm going to do the hospitality piece and money will come. And I feel like you're more in the camp of, hey, I'm a very hospitable host and things will come. Right. So can you talk a little bit about that? And like, what are some things you do maybe differently from others, or that you really enjoy doing that you think translates really well into, your general business?
Absolutely. First of all, I love communicating with people. I'm an Uber communicator. I love talking to people. I mean, I have my automated messaging, but when people ask questions, I have repeat guests. So again, let's start at the towels, right? Like, look, we're a beach house. And I remember kind of like getting into not arguments, but people disagree in other beach locations where, we're talking in Facebook groups about like providing beach towels. And I'm like, why? It's a beach house. You have to provide beach towels and you have to provide plenty of other towels and give people extra. I really think it's important because people are spending so much money on these vacations. They save, no matter at what price point we're talking about, it's a lot of money to whoever it is because they saved to make this happen. And you want it to be a good experience. Something else that I do is I leave out chips and salsa for all my guests. I know it's like, this is like one of these like tiny wins, right? But like, hey, you get to the beach house, the kids are grumpy, awesome. You're grumpy. No one, like, the food's not cooked yet, okay? Like, we haven't even had a chance to order. Like, pop the chips and salsa, let the party start, like, let's get this party started. That's my thought. So
get this party started.
Exactly. You have to. I want people to feel like chips and dip, chips and salsa, like, and also my daughter is celiac, so I was thinking from like chips and salsa, it's gluten-free, it's dairy-free, like, most people can eat chips and salsa. Let's just start right there. So that's kind of, I was worried about some people leave out wine. The liability issue, I don't want that. So I was like, okay, we're going to get this party started. Everybody loves chips and salsa, all ages. Let's do that. And I'm really responsive to my guests. Like, if there's an issue where they are, and they deserve a refund, I'm pretty quick to say, like, you know what, I'm so sorry, I apologize, I will refund this amount. I had down in Crystal Beach, Texas, at the end of last year, there was that deep freeze that ran through Texas. And oh gosh, everybody's pipes burst. My pipes didn't burst, they were wrapped, but I had my water heater went kaput. And so I had to replace some gas. We reinstalled the water heater, but you know what? And then I had guests in and it wasn't working, like there was some issue, right? And so I had two sets of guests who had no hot water. I was ready to like send them somewhere else and they were like, "No, it's okay, we'll stay." And they both gave me 5-star reviews.
Wow.
It's awesome.
Having no hot water for 4 days. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm so grateful, but I was super responsive. You know, I sent them like, here's a couple $100, go have dinner on us. You have to remember that people have saved up for this. They took time off of work for this. Time is money for people, and you have to make it a good experience. And if it's not, you have to be responsive and own that, because you are and not get defensive. Just like, hey, I'm going to take care of it the best that I can.
100%. 100%. So let me ask you a quick question. So, Crystal Beach market, a lot, I know Umi just was mentioning just kind of people experiences. So, I guess what is the difference between, and you don't have to give actual, but we appreciate if you do, or as close, like what are you grossing from a beach, on the beach versus off the beach, a block away?
Well, I have a client who's more than a block away, but we just launched in August, so I can't give you like full numbers. I think, look, for my beach house, I purchased at $925,000, which is like, we're talking about an almost $1 million house. And I think we are definitely on track this year to probably gross between 140 and 150. It depends on, obviously the year's not through. I think for the past 12 rolling months, I want to say we're close to 140.
Good. That's great.
Great numbers. I was doing, when I was analyzing the property, I was analyzing a gross income of 120. At the end of the day, the expenses are high because we're talking about, there's a mortgage on this house, and you got to have a cleaning team, handyman team. Hi, Derek and Stacy. Love
Derek
those
and Stacy.
What's up?
That's my team. They're the best. And so I just want to make sure that, people know. Versus off the beach, I think you probably make a little less. I think some of those properties can pull $100,000, but you pay less for the properties. So I think that the numbers in Crystal Beach are still making sense depending on the property. What amenities are you doing? I've run some analysis for people. It looks like between 80 and 100,000, depending on where you're located.
So can you speak a little bit about the co-hosting side of the business? So what is co-hosting, and like what services I guess are offered, and so you can kind of like walk us through that.
Yeah, absolutely. So co-hosting is me and my business partner, in the same way that we remotely manage our properties, we take over managing the hosting side of the properties, vacation rentals for other people who don't want the headache of managing a property. Like, look, there are people out there who have vacation homes. They want to be able to use the house a couple times a year. But if you want the house to pay for itself, then they maybe don't have the time or the knowledge to host their own property remotely. And so they would hire a co-host like me, and we're gonna have a tech stack, and we're gonna put the property on Airbnb and Vrbo, and we're gonna make sure that the pictures are arranged in a certain way. We're gonna keep the listing fresh. We're gonna manage the boots on the ground team, the cleaner, the handyman. We're going to make sure that if something breaks, we're getting someone in there to fix it, the pest control, everything, the and we're going to manage guest communications as well. So, to talk about Kobos co-hosting, I partnered with a friend of mine, Dennis Kobos. And so he is the tech side of our business. He has a successful over 10 years career in tech. And I have to admit that that's not my favorite side of the business. I love the guest interaction. I love creating wonderful guest experiences. I love talking even to my boots on the ground team and managing like everything from soup to nuts there. And I can manage the technology side of things. I just prefer not to. And I'm really trying to lean into my authenticity and like, look, what are the things that I love to do? What are my skills? And that's where I'm finding my freedom, you guys. So, yeah, so that's what we do for clients. We optimize their listings. We make sure that these are at the forefront, hopefully in the first couple pages of the results on Vrbo, on Airbnb. We're managing all of the guest experiences, communications.
So can you explain that a little bit? So what does it mean by like being in the first few pages for like, let's say people who are either just getting started or they're trying to just like improve their operations?
Absolutely. The first few pages, basically when someone goes in and they type in Crystal Beach or any other location, we manage properties across the country. But when they go into whatever location and type in, oh, I'm looking for this property, and a property that would match whatever property we're hosting, you want to be on the first few pages of results because that's where people are going to look for bookings, and it's basically SEO, right? Search engine optimization within the third-party apps. So within Airbnb, you don't want to be on page 10 of results. You're never going to get bookings. Okay. So in order to get on those first few pages, there's a few things that come into play, right? You have to make sure that the pictures slap. You have to make sure that the listing is fresh, the descriptions are good, and the pricing is competitive with other properties in the area. If you're priced too high, you're going to get bumped to the back. If you're not a super host, you're going to get bumped to the back. There's a bunch of factors that come in there, and in order for them to get bookings and this property to pay for itself and then some, maybe you want to be on those first few pages. So that's what we work on.
That's pretty cool. And you mentioned that you manage properties all across the United States. Is there any reason why you didn't focus like on, I guess, one target market, and what are the challenges of saying, hey, you have a beach market here and you might have, a skiing market there? Like what are the different challenges you face?
Thanks for asking. So we just launched, and so right now our clients are all in Crystal Beach.
Oh, okay.
Just so you know. But we will take on clients in other parts of the country. It's just, I think that there's a benefit to having things diversified, right? Like I have a beach property and a desert property, and their seasons are opposite. And so this is just, it's good business even if you're investing in more than one short-term rental. You want to pick markets that are going to offset each other, because there's going to be a slow season for for most markets. I don't want to say for every market, but probably. So I just think that, we are focused on the markets that we currently know, but we can take on clients anywhere across the country for the sake of look, we've got this. And
Cool. No, that's exciting. I think, when we just sit back and just kind of look at that story, I think it's really cool because there's some people who want to get in short-term rentals. Let's say they don't have the funds currently. But I think there's opportunities for house hacking, and that can lead to jumping into another niche, whether it's midterm rental, short-term rental. And then from there, you build your success there, and then you can kind of then transition even to like the co-host side of the business, which is really cool because you know all the systems, you know how to kind of like optimize a property, and you can help somebody else out who maybe doesn't have the time, doesn't have the interest, and it's a win-win. So I think that's super cool. And so maybe you could just walk us through, like, what does find your freedom mean to you?
Well, for sure. Like, look, I really believe that passion is power. That's my other logo my other phrase I like to say, right? Like passion is power. And I found my passion in, I think in my career of over 20 something years, and I still work my W-2, and building this business. It's just a matter of, hey, you have to sit down with yourself and really understand what are the things that light my fire, what puts steam in my engine. And you have to at least have if you don't love your W-2, at least have your side hustle be that. I'm writing a book right now and it's called Give More to Get More, right? And that's the working title, and it's a book about leverage, generosity, and karmic law, right? Like when you give more, you get so much more in return, and you're more likely to give more when you're doing something that you're passionate about, right? Like, in my career, like I don't mind answering emails, or when I have an executive who's traveling across the country, and I mean in Europe, different time zones, right? I don't mind because I'm passionate about it. I love it. I'll answer, I don't feel like, no, that's not my job. I'm not on the clock right now. So I think it's really important. I'm finding my freedom by living authentically. And they say that authenticity is one of like the highest vibrations that you could, I mean, I don't know who says that, right? Like they say it. And I feel like in this past year, you know, um, having my business partner kind of reach out to me and say, like, hey, what do you know about, and actually partnering with someone who does the portion of the business that I don't really love, so that I can lean into the things that I am super passionate about and a player with, and just kind of saying, like, I've honed all of these skills. It was an accident to do that. And then also like talking to people about real estate, taking on hosting, and finding out that I loved hosting, and then saying, you know what, I'm going to start doing this for other people and helping them, because there's a bunch of hosting companies out there that are too big for their own, and they've lost the personal touch. And I think it's really important. I love building community and, meeting new people and helping people. And so that's what I'm leaning into, finding my freedom through authenticity.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. There's a lady that named Julie Holly, and she calls it zone of genius, right? So you're right now in your zone of genius. So if people want to reach out to you, because you got the co-hosting, obviously you just a wealth of knowledge, and someone I think a lot of people should reach out to and communicate with you just on your story and what you've done to get to this point. How can people contact you?
Absolutely. My Insta handle is at P_Mojo09. That's MOJO09. So P_Mojo09. And my email address is Patricia at Cobos Co-hosting. That's COBOS co-hosting.com. And, I host a kind of monthly mastermind call where me and some friends or people that I meet talk about real estate and all the different, what are you doing? And it helps with accountability and stuff like that. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me either via email or Insta. And I love to connect with people. I love to talk about real estate. I love to talk about my journey and try to help people with their journey and find out, like, what do you like to do? What kind of real estate are you going to get into? Because I really believe that it's a great way to build generational wealth. And that's what I'm here to do.
There you go. There you have it. So we're coming to the end of the show. And what we like to do is we like to tell our audience, this is the time that you turn your speakers down, because we're about to go through the big boom session, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count to three. One, two, three. And we all three of us going to say boom as loud as we can. All right. Let me know when you are ready.
I was born ready.
Oh,
there
that
you
get a
go.
boom by itself. All right. Well, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. On three. 1, 2, 3. Boom! Awesome. Check this out. We just had another fantastic episode, and some of the things that was mentioned today is really something you should listen to, because the house hacking thing is just another way to drive some revenue in your pocket. And sometimes some people are looking outside their house when they should be looking inside their house, because the money is just right there at your fingertips. And what we need you to do is listen to this episode, leave us an honest 5-star review, because that's the way we can have more Patricias here to share their story and get you some extra cash in your pocket to start your journey, right? And we also need you to subscribe. We need you to make sure that you share this with all your friends, all your mother, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your aunt, your uncle. Share it with all your coworkers, the ones that you like and the ones that you don't like. Until the next time on Find Your Freedom, we talk to you soon. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to Find Your Freedom. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. While you're at it, please help us spread the word by leaving a rating and review and sharing the podcast with friends, family, and colleagues. Until next time, get out there and find your freedom.